Remember that judges don't have an army to enforce their judgments. They don't make law. The parliament makes the laws. All they have is judgment. All they have is the integrity. And if the judge does not have integrity, and if he does not explain those judgments with solid legal reasoning, the judge has nothing.
You don't create a democratic society, you don't create an independent judicial branch in a snap of fingers. It's very hard when there's no tradition of it at all. I thought I had a hard job before I came to Moldova.
The judge has to be independent. Impartial is really the right word. That is, he cannot have an interest in the outcome of the case, in favor of one party or against another party. He must make his ruling based upon the evidence and the law. So that's the essence of independence. It also means that you cannot be subject to outside influences or pressures, whether those are political pressures by a party or by the government, or whether they're financial pressures of someone who is offering you money for a decision, or whether they're simply your own preferences.
What I try to do at home, I probably don't succeed every day, but I try to remember that to these parties, their case, I may have hundreds of cases, and I do have hundreds of cases, but to these people, this case, their case, is the most important case in the whole United States. And they will draw their conclusions about the American judicial system, rule of law, based on how I treat them in their case. And they'll tell all their friends, all right? And I try to remember that, and if I do, I'm a good judge. And so we encouraged each of the Moldovan judges to remember that.
All proceedings should be opened. Hearings, meetings with with lawyers. Anytime that you have close meetings, they raise suspicion. Even if nothing bad is going on, a judge who's given the appearance of living in a manner that is inconsistent with the salary ought to have a good explanation. Maybe my family is wealthy. You know, maybe I won the lottery. Maybe I did something that produced that kind of income. But the appearance of that type of lifestyle, it would be problematic to the average citizen. Judicial involvement in elections generally throughout the world and in the United States is disfavored because it affects the popular judgment of who should be elected. So we should be very careful in doing that. I don't know the facts of that particular case, so I cannot opine on whether it was right or wrong. But generally speaking, you need to have clear rules before the election is held.
We have people who have laundered big amounts of money through American banks, and we've got good prosecutors who try to find and prosecute those people, and some bank procedures to prevent it, but nothing is foolproof. We've had people who've used our American financial system to launder large amounts of money. It's going on right now. If our prosecutors find them, they prosecute them and try to get convictions.
So it's very important to prosecute them.
Absolutely, because that's how, otherwise your whole society gets corrupt and your banking system is just used as a vehicle for criminals.
It's an indictment of a system. It indicates a level of corruption that goes beyond any particular individual. It indicates a system that it is unable to deal with a serious societal problem. So it requires institutional reforms.
There are problems in our country with electing judges. I personally don't think it's a good idea. The citizens of my state have chosen that's how to do it. We do it. I don't think it works so well.
Why?
A judge campaign like a politician. We don't raise taxes, lower taxes, pass laws, repeal laws, say we want more regulation, less regulation. We don't do any of that. We decide cases, and we decide specific cases based on the evidence we find and the laws that the legislative branch passes. That's what we do. If we promise in an election how we're going to decide cases or categories of cases, that's wrong. Then the lawyers and the parties in that case will say, huh, Polster, you can't decide my case fairly. You promised someone what you would do. Get off my case, and they'd be right.
If a judge is elected, he has to cater to the electorate. He has to do what is popular, and that's not the role of the judge. That's the role of elected officials, to do what the public demands. The role of the job is to do what the Constitution mandates, to do what the law requires. So I don't know the specifics in your case, but I would say that in our own American experience, election of judges is problematic. The question is the entire system corrupt, or is it that there are some bad apples in the system? If the bad apples are in the system, those can be dealt with through prosecution. If the entire system is corrupt, then you've got to make some institutional changes that will address a systemic corruption.